Happy Sunday, happy weekend. How are you guys? I'm so happy to be able to make it to the scene. I've got a lot of light coming in because it's like almost high noon. And thank you so much for being here. Let me get caught up super fast and just say hello. The look says more than words ever could. Got some things to take care of. Yes, wood fairy. Um, Yeah, that look says it all. I mean, I haven't forgotten about that look. I haven't forgotten about a lot of these things. Hello, Justice Warriors, digging out from the lake effect snow. Hola. Have my cup of tea. No coffee for me. I had both. I had my coffee earlier. Now I've got my jasmine tea. It's so good. Um, I'm a tea drinker too. Teetotalers. No Java. Tea in this cup. Good morning, Susan D.A. Arthritic coffee make my body ache like crazy. I got to get used to tea now. Well, I love tea. Susan D.A., my mother always said she drank way too much coffee when I was in the womb. That has to be why I don't drink coffee. That's funny. Well, I would say that there's just not enough coffee in the world for a new mother, because that's how I felt. Um, all right, so let's get started, you guys. Everything I say is simply my opinion. It is simply for the sake of conversation, hoping to open up a discussion, learn something, be educational, get educated. My videos are all made specifically for YouTube, which is an entertainment platform. So I like to kick it off with that disclaimer, and then please hit that like button and share and subscribe if you feel so inclined. So yeah, I was able to get a short Cliff Notes up last night finally, like again, close to midnight, but I got it done. It was so funny. I was recording it after 11 and my brain was just about gone. Like I barely got it out of me before I wouldn't have been able to. But at one point, I think I had like a 2 minute plus lapse where I was just like looking at my notes because I was really frustrated and I was determined to find this thing. And I knew that I would clip it out, but it was hilarious when I watched it. And I was just like, wow, brain's really shutting down. So, yeah, the thing I was looking for was simply the name of the meats and locker company of Brett Payne. So it's in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. I did finally find it. It's towards the end of the video. And it's called South Hill Meats and Locker. I think I said South Hill Meat Locker, so somebody corrected me. So thank you for that. And Bonners Ferry is just about a half an hour from Canada, from the border. So I find that quite interesting. I just, there's so much going on with this case right now. I feel like things are just exploding. Um, so how to be delicate, how to not trip over the elephant in the middle of the room. I'll just be the bull in the china shop. When Papa Roger stuff was coming out on the internet, I thought that that was possibly the one true criminal defendant profile. I don't know if that was a popular agreement. I think that seemed like the one. We knew there were a lot of fakes, but the Papa Roger, first of all, knew so much insider information. Second of all, of course, the profile looked a lot like the criminal defendant, like the German military dude. And now I'm thinking that that is probably a fake, just like all the others were fakes. And I'm wondering who did it. Somebody who has a lot of inside information. So if it wasn't the criminal defendant, then that means that somebody else was either a part of the crime or was at the scene of the crime, like maybe law enforcement. For all we know, it could be one of the friends that were summoned, right? Let's get those likes up. I think it's law enforcement, Heather says. Well, I'm going back to that whole psyops that I like to call psychops, because psyops is just, like I say, too many vowels in a row. We need more alphabet. We need more of the consonants, the hard letters. So I like to say psychops, even though I know it's incorrect. So, yeah, I think it's a bunch of psychops putting the Papa Roger profile, the um, blank screen video with the cell phone that's like blocking out the person, the comments in people's chats, like even going back to the comment that, remember, dropped the troll that dropped into my chat just a few days before Christmas, that I've never been able to find that part of the video. And I did not clip that part of the video out. I didn't even block the troll. I just deleted their comment. But I spoke their comment and I also spoke their name, and I can't find it to save my life. At the time, I just thought it was a troll. And then later, I thought, wow, it could have been the criminal defendant. Now I'm thinking it could have been anybody, right? I mean, I always figured it could have been anybody, but it could be somebody significant, is what I'm trying to say. So, it just really scares me the way this time frame of 4 a.m. Remember, that DoorDash delivery was at exactly about around approximately 4 a.m. And, we've all kind of been willing to accept that, sure, Xana could have made a DoorDash delivery request in the wee hours of the morning on that um, Saturday night, Sunday morning. But there's also been so many questions from the outset. Like, is this part of the choreography? So, that videotape that Joseph Morris supposedly leaked, supposedly created it. And I'm not defending Joseph Morris by any means. I think he does a lot of questionable things. So I don't know, though, if he did create it or if it is actually a doorbell cam that he got a hold of. And then he released it, and then they had to quash that basically by saying, oh, it's a fake. But if I'm accurate, I think that the doorbell cam has a timestamp of 3:38 a.m. And I honestly, I never listened to it because I figured it was a fake from go. I was just like, I ignore a lot of this stuff. And then I try to pay attention if I think it's relevant for whatever reason. So I've listened to it a few times lately, a handful of times. And to me, it sounds quite plausible that it could be the real deal, the real McCoy. Um, and it's just chilling, isn't it? If you've listened to it, it's so chilling. It sounds like probably Ethan and Xana and maybe one or two or more attackers, and you hear a dog barking. Um, it's really creepy. It's really scary, but it's time stamped 3:38. So, there's also, I was in somebody's chat last night and people were saying how the last phone attempts to contact Jack were before 3 a.m. and that it didn't seem like it was in Kaylee's character to just stop if she's still awake for another hour. And I thought that was very astute. I would have to agree with that entirely. So, there's quite a commitment to trying to make sure that there's no suspicion of anything happening before that 4 a.m. mark, when it seems like things could have happened well before that 4 a.m. mark, in my opinion. Made it today. Have a great day, everyone. Yes, definitely have a great day. It's Sunday. It's getting towards the end of March. So, March, in like a lion, out like a lamb. In this case, man, it's come in like a lion, hasn't it? And it seems to start to chill and be a little lamb-like, and then it roars its head again. There's so much effery in this case. It's bizarre. It's so bizarre. And that's why I think it's a complete psyops. And that channel that I'm suspicious of, the James Bond 007 channel. I don't want to keep mentioning it for a number of reasons, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go back a couple of videos and you'll see. Um, the one with the same moon and tree line, black and white silhouette that Brent Kopaka used in one of his Facebook posts. So I am absolutely convinced that Kopaka ties into this. I really am. I'm not convinced of a lot in this case because, like I said, it's so much effery, but I am convinced of that. Um, I'm also convinced that you can't trust the Moscow PD as far as you could kick them. That's just something I'm 100% convinced of. That's just me. That's just my opinion. And I'm allowed to have an opinion. So, and I really don't enjoy criticizing law enforcement. Honestly, I don't enjoy criticizing anybody. If I don't like what they're doing, I just go ahead and do my own thing, to each their own. I don't have to approve of people. Nobody needs my approval, right? I mean, I don't feel like I need anybody's approval. But it's kind of imperative that you trust law enforcement. If you don't trust law enforcement, then when something happens, you can't dial 911. I mean, think about somebody like that 18-year-old girl in Pullman with the police officer that sexually assaulted her. You think she's ever going to call 911 in her life, no matter what happens? There's many people who fall into that category for many reasons. They wouldn't call the police if their lives depended on it. And that's because they've seen a history and a pattern of police making situations worse. So take the Kopaka situation, right? SWAT team is supposed to de-escalate a situation. Law enforcement, that's their job, de-escalate a situation and to use the just the lowest level of force. So use of excessive force is a really bad look on law enforcement. Absolutely. Internally as well as externally. You're going to catch a lot of heat for use of excessive force. You go with the lowest level of force that you possibly can. And you are trained in de-escalation. And you should be an expert in de-escalation. That's what you do when you're a police officer. You de-escalate. So why is it that if Kopaka had two roommates in that apartment with him and they were able to get out pretty quick, it sounds like in the first 20 or 30 minutes, and then 7 hours later, he gets shot dead by the SWAT team. And I know they say that he was a live shooter. I don't know that there was more than one round fired, and I'm not justifying that. What I'm trying to say is that, especially as a Purple Heart vet, he should be protected. He should be given the most expert consideration and de-escalation tactics available. If it had been 24 hours plus 7 hours, like 31 hours, I would be a lot more accepting and understanding of the outcome. But it was 7 hours. That's not that long, in my opinion. And, the SWAT team, they are trained for this. This is what they live for. They should be able to de escalate a situation and get somebody out of there alive. They do it all the time. So, another thing that I wanted to bring up that I just thought of yesterday, and I have not heard anybody say this, and again, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't look down on somebody having post-traumatic stress disorder. That's quite a natural response to trauma. So it's my opinion that most people that fight in combat in our military will have some sort of post-traumatic stress at some point in their lives. So somebody like Kopaka gets labeled PTSD, mental health case, traumatic brain injury. So, mental health case cubed or squared. And then you've got military personnel or ex-military personnel like Brett Payne, who's ex-military, and his brother Kyle Payne, who's active military, and they've been through the same combat traumatic experiences that Kopak has been through, but they're not identified as PTSD. To me, that doesn't make them any better. It makes them possibly, and in my opinion, probably in denial and not getting treatment and not getting help. When you're a trained assassin, you don't just like stop doing that. You need a lot of support and retraining when you come back from a place like Afghanistan, and especially that level of paratroopers for what was it? Denied access, areas of denied access. I mean, it's like the most dangerous of dangers. These people are hand to hand, one to one combat experts. They are like ninjas. They are like ninjas. And the way the Idaho 4 uh, quadruple homicide has been painted for the public is like a ninja did it, right? Interesting, huh? Quite interesting. Oh, hey, Rachel. Julie and James got married in Payette. Do you think Michael Vaughn ties in too? Oh, no. I hate it when things tie in, because then it just seems like a big, theory of the C word. Um, but it's possible. Again, you got to remember, these are all small towns. Honestly, I don't pay much attention to the Michael Vaughn case because it's just so heartbreaking to me when you got these young children that are so defenseless. But I did want to talk more about Julie and James. So thanks for bringing that up, Miss Rachel. The Truckee Effie. Yes, Fred Field. Absolutely. Trust the moderator. Goodness gracious. I'm just going to block that because, dang. I'm just not screwing around with this, you guys. It's just gross. So yeah, there's a lot of trolls coming out, not just on my channel, but all channels. What a freak. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't mean to be offensive, but that reminds me so much of, and I didn't even see the next one. Gross. Goodness gracious. It's like the zombie with the hand. Trust the Mada. Should I do a screenshot real quick? I think I should. Let's see if I can do this while I'm live. I've never done that before, but what a wacko. Get a life. I honestly think these people are like somebody like Corporal Payne. Pain in my arse, right? Let's see. Okay. I got it. I got a screenshot because, yeah, they'll probably all disappear. Just the one that I clicked on to make the block disappeared. So, yes, super creep. But let me read through these super creepy things. And thank you, all you people who are not super creeps. I mean, gross, gross, gross. But yeah, I think they're coming out of the woodwork, not just on my channel, but on other people's channels. And some of them are the same profiles. All the officer was worried about was getting her cappuccino and jacket. The photographs or the footage that I saw of that SWAT team incident was like the officers standing around in a big circle yakking and laughing. And that's not a SWAT team situation. I've seen SWAT team situations in real life. That's not a SWAT team situation, period. So that's bullshit. Wow. PTSD can put emphasis on the reactive part of someone's behavior. PTSD is just something, it's just part of life. I mean, in my opinion, and I'm a mental health professional for over 20 years, every mental health diagnosis is a part of life and is part of being healthy. It's when it's out of balance and out of whack that it's then an illness and unhealthy. Is Officer Payne related to former Judge Payne of the 1st and 2nd Judicial Districts of Idaho? I don't know. I'm not even sure how common of a last name that is, but yeah, Corporal Brett Payne and his brother, who is still a military officer, has been for like 13 years straight. So they both graduated from the University of Idaho, you guys. The University of Idaho, to my understanding, is kind of the gem college of the state. And James Fry graduated from the University of Idaho. His wife, Julie Fry, graduated from the University of Idaho. And also, Kaylee's parents both graduated from the University of Idaho. I'm thinking even Jack D's parents might have, but that's aside from the point. You have a lot of legacy students at a school like this. So it's a lot of clout, it's a lot of status. So when you have, let's say, third generation college kids, like their grandparents went to school there, those are the kids that are going to they're going to have the red carpet rolled out for them. So we probably have some of those in this whole narrative that we're looking at. But what fascinated me about finding out that Julie and James met as students at the University of Idaho, and I'll tell you how I found that out, was reading kind of like a bio that she wrote for the election that she won in November. So she basically, I took some notes from it. I think I wrote a couple of sentences verbatim, if I can find them in my way too many notes notebook. Let's see. Yeah, I got it right here. So it was 1989, I think, when they graduated. That might be when they started school there as opposed to graduated. I'm not 100% sure. And I know that Kylie's parents went around that same time, but I haven't been able to find when they were students there. When I first knew that Kaylee's students, did I say Kylie? If I did, I'm sorry. Kaylee Gonzalez or Goncalves. When I first found out that her parents went there, um, I knew that James Fry had lived in Moscow his whole life, but I had no idea that he had gone to the university too. I just knew that he has used that as his political platform, that he's lived in Moscow his whole life. So he was appointed police chief in 2016. I think I said this in the video last night. And then Julie Fry was hired to be the financial director for the city of Moscow, the treasury manager in 2018. They have 4 children that are all in their 20s right now. And Julie's quote in her little autobiography paragraph was, "I love God, American values, and some other things." And she's part of this church that people have been pointing towards this whole case. And again, that's part of the case that I have not personally paid a lot of attention to. So, yeah. Let's see, where are we at? Hey, Larissa Slaughter. So glad you're here. And Nico, good morning. Let me get caught up real quick. Susan D.A., that's funny. I love creamy coffee, but can't have it. I'm guessing yes. So the Trust the Mad Hatter is blocked and screenshot, you guys that are that came in after that happened. So the comments are still there, but they're gone. Vets not helping vets in crisis just blows my mind. Thank you, GC. Vets come out of the woodwork in a situation like that and yell, kick, and scream and holler foul play. So the fact that that didn't happen makes me extremely suspicious. Killing Kopako was not necessary. What are they hiding? And now you have to think about this new lead detective on the Idaho 4, whose name is so hard to say, Mowery, Mowery. He's a detective. He was hired with Moscow PD in 2018, and he specializes in the IT forensics. And he's a new SWAT team member. So he was more than likely there, unless he was on vacation or maybe working a graveyard shift. So he had to be asleep because he worked the graveyard the night before and was scheduled to work the night after. But if you're part of a SWAT team, you drop what you're doing no matter what you're doing and you show up. So wonder how Brett Kopaka earned his Purple Heart. I think he earned the Purple Heart when he got the head injury. That's my belief. Um, Saving Private Payne. That's funny. I think Nico's probably deleting those messages. You can leave them, Nico. You can leave the messages. The person's already blocked, and I was curious to go ahead and read them. If you want to bring back the one that's from 1201, that's right after you came in and said good morning. If that was you that retracted it. Trust the Mad Hatter got it wrong. Good morning, Lady Justice. Good morning, Larissa. I am so happy that you decided to keep on keeping on, girl. You are kicking butt and I'm just delighted. Absolutely delighted. The social circle was pretty relaxed. Well, yeah, you got to have your cappuccino and catch up with your friends and tell jokes. I mean, laughing? No, that's not a SWAT team incident. Susan Dodge. I mean, honestly, in SWAT team incidents, not only is everyone dead serious because they don't want to be dead themselves, it's very emotional. It's sad, especially in a small town, and you might actually know this person. As part of the SWAT team, you might actually know Kopaka, and especially in this SWAT team, right? Especially in this one. Um, that's all motive to protect the university reputation. 100%. That's exactly what I think, Heather. I got triggered last night and went off on Coffin, Dorker, and News Nation for saying the alleged killing. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's hilarious. Like funny, not funny. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Coffin Dorker, and I like that name for her. And News Nation, not a fan of either. I had been up until, them and their source says. It's crazy, isn't it? So let's see. I've got my backup tea right here. I've got my Peace on Earth mug. Transition from the what was that? Everything gets better with a good book. Oh, I got so many cute mugs. They don't even fit in the cabinet. I'm constantly trying to get rid of them too because I'm constantly finding new cute mugs. Let's see. Is generational retribution a thing? Nico, funny you should ask, because if you guys have seen photographs of Kaylee's mother when she was Kaylee's age, she might have been even more drop dead gorgeous than Kaylee, if that's possible. And if you've seen pictures of her father when he was a young prince, he was pretty much equally as drop dead gorgeous. Like they had to be the hottest couple on campus, is what I'm getting at. And then the Fries, not so much. We'll just leave it right there. But I had wondered back when I first found out that they all went to school there, or when I found out that the Goncalveses had gone to school there, and that Fry lived in the community his whole life, so they probably had run across each other. I've gone to a college. I went to Miami University that was very similar in size. It was actually a lot bigger of a school, 20,000, and the town of Oxford was smaller. It was like 6,000, so 26,000 altogether. And that's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. You cross paths with everybody, even though it's a big school. It's just, the way it is. So both Pullman and Moscow are like that, but Moscow even more so. It's about roughly 11 or 12,000 for the school, and slightly more for the community that's not the university. So less than 25,000 or somewhere around there. Anyway, my point is that I had wondered way back if Fry had maybe tried to date Kaylee's mother, and maybe that there was some kind of generational retribution. Just a thought. Just a thought. Not disagreeing with you taking extra caution. Just want to make sure you're not deleting possible supporters because of the creepy emoji stickers that YouTube provides. Thank you, Sassafras. Yeah, I don't want to block people. I really don't enjoy blocking people. And I agree with you 100%, not to be reactive. But that one seemed even more blatant than the one with the uh, Skittles Riddles with the shaky hot pink hand. I mean, to me, these people are very likely um, directly affiliated with Moscow PD, in my humble opinion. Haven't deleted anything. Okay, maybe that's how the system works. When you block them, they start deleting like that. But I did get some screenshots. Are you sure Kaylee's parents went to University of Idaho? I've never seen that. I'm about 100% sure, Ashley. I could be incorrect. I've been incorrect once or twice in my life. No, kidding. Of course, I've been incorrect. But I'm about 100% sure that they went to school there. And I can't remember where I saw it, and I haven't been able to find it in the last 24 hours. But yeah, I found that a while ago, probably a couple months ago, and I could go through my notes. But when I found it online, it was more than one source. So Source told me that. And I trust Source. Source is a good source. No, I don't believe everything I see online. Of course not. I don't believe everything that Google tells me. I know that Google's a lying sack of crap sometimes. I mean, there's some things Google just isn't going to say. I was going to say doesn't know. And it's possible that Google doesn't know some things that or they're just too intricate for Google to know. But I think that a lot of times Google is well aware of the fact that Google is lying. They don't care. They're going to say what they want to say. Just like that Snopes. Ugh, if anybody's ever looked up Snopes, I would not recommend it. It's kind of funny though. Are you sure? Okay, so yeah, I am sure, but please prove me wrong. I wouldn't be offended in the least if somebody was able to dig something up and said, "Nope, you're incorrect." I like to be accurate, so I feel 100% confident that they both graduated from there and that they met there. Those officers knew him, in my opinion. And you're talking about Kopaka, Nico. I can't imagine that they didn't. Why would Coffin blah blah leave the FBI? Oh, because she's a mommy. When she could have had nice retirement. I don't think she has an opinion of her own. Yeah, she's like, my kids are the most important thing. It's like, that kind of goes without saying. I mean, that's just an inherent part of how humans are designed. Of course, our kids are the most important thing. So if you're saying it, why are you saying it? Why are you trying to convince people of the obvious? That makes me question. Let's see. Coffin Dagger. And I think it's hilarious that her name starts with Coffin. Coffin Daffer lady has been so sus lately. I used to like her, but now she is clearly part of the cover up narrative. Oh, really? See, I've always just ignored her. I laugh at her hair. I mean, I have bad hair, and the computer does crazy things to your hair. But have you guys seen her with her hair like all like this, like a freaking lion's mane, and it's like all frizzy? It's like crazy because she's got professionals there to help her out. It's like, man, you want your hair to look like that? And yeah, I think she's from Texas, and that whole big hairball thing that I've talked about in the past. The bigger the hair, the better, right? But yeah, I don't trust a lot of these people on these mainstream news shows that are giving their opinion. I think a lot of them are paid, and I think a lot of them are just going to go with the status quo. They're going to go with the party line narrative. They're going to go with the cover up because that's what you do, Blue backs the blue. That's the fact of how all that stuff works. Coffin Daffer is super sus. Can you do a live on that? Absolutely. Maybe she could call in, defend herself. No, I don't have a call in thing. I agree. That is what I was getting at. Maybe I accidentally deleted the Hatter stuff. That's okay. It looks like a slip though. Thank you, Sassafras. I understand the 88 thing. Just wanted you to know YouTube chat has those stickers. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sassafras. I do know that. I mean, I'm not as computer illiterate as I used to be. So yeah, I know how to use all those YouTube stickers and they're weird. Like I use a lot of the emojis, but all those stickers that are like neon colors, they're pretty wild. And I mean, they're supposed to be eye catching. So if you put them in your comment, the content creator or the mods will be more likely to see it, or everybody will be more likely to see it, especially when you get into these chats that are just like rolling a mile a minute. So thank you though for making sure that I knew that, because there's a lot of stuff I am clueless about. So I appreciate that. And yeah, that 88 thing is what I didn't know. I spoke with some people. Again, Google wouldn't tell me this. I Googled it afterwards because I already knew it, but I just wanted to see what Google had to say about it. And Google didn't have a lot to say. But speaking with people in the know, the 88 is the number 8 is like an H. That's what 88 is. It's HH. So I'm not going to say anything more about that, but that's what that is. So when that a-hole dropped in, that was, somebody who worships Adolf. So no, we're not having none of that crap. Okay, not going to get all worked up. That's what they want, right? Google and Snipes, I think you mean Snopes, both push narratives true or false to keep the company happy. Right. Again, yeah, just to go with the status quo. Everything in our bureaucratic system is to go with the status quo. Everything. I've worked in our bureaucratic system. I've lived in our bureaucratic system. I honestly have been a part of that system. So I know from the inside. That's just what you do. You keep up the facade. That's what you do. I worked in the courts. I was an employee and I worked inside the King County Superior Court in downtown Seattle. I was a court employee. That's how I know some of the stuff that I know. I know some of the stuff that I know from my other professional hats that I wore and from a lot of other life experience. But I worked in the court. I was a court employee. And, that saying, the long arm of the law, there's the long arm of the law. Like, don't think for a second that the court doesn't have their hand in everything. That's hilarious, describing the difference between the parents. I was trying to be nice. Look him up. I mean, Fry is just the smarmiest MF I can imagine. And every freaking photograph I look at of him, I see the imaginary yellow canary tail feathers hanging out of his mouth. I mean, he is the cat who ate the canary. And his wife actually, to me, looks quite beautiful, honestly. She looks like she might be native. I don't know. But, she's not like your drop dead Cheryl Teague supermodel type, like Kaylee and her mother and her and Kaylee's roommates. All four of those allegedly murdered people. I can't believe they said that. All four of those victims are absolutely like movie star good looks. I mean, I don't think that that's debatable. So anyway, and looks don't freaking matter. That's why I was trying to just say it as gently as possible. But we all know that people get hung up on that and people get jealous and people get weird, just like people get weird with fame and with money. Where are we at? Yeah, Snopes, not Snipes. I knew that's what you meant. 80s hair. Texas hair, baby. Texas hair. I think that GC, all we can do is try to help with stuff like that. Trolls can be sneaky. Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, they're not always so obvious. I mean, what cracks me up is when these ones are so obvious and it's like they're trying to be obvious, like to fly close to the sun, or because they're just that stupid that they don't realize how obvious they're being. It seems to me that she is convincing herself out loud about her choice to leave the bureau and become an expert media consultant. Well, and it's because she likes to see herself on TV, which, there's a lot of natives around here, so it wouldn't surprise me if she is. Yeah, Andy. I mean, she definitely looks like it. If you just Google her name, Julie Fry in Moscow, and click on the image one, she looks very, very native to me. And yeah, the entire area is surrounded by reservations, which makes it even more frightening with the trafficking, the people and the substances. And what really creeps me out about Corporal Brett Payne's business that he acquired when he was 17 or 18 years old, the South Hill Meats and Locker. What's the and locker? Like, isn't it a meat locker or is it a locker for other things? Like, and that's just like MOB stuff, you guys. Like, that's like old school Chicago. Like, that's where you get the best beef, is from that, uh, how shall we say, company, organization. Let's just call it the organization. That's where you get the best beef. Typically, the organization is in control of things like garbage, cement, trucking, and beef, in my humble opinion. And of course, the trafficking things. But those are the trafficking of the legal things. Um, Julie is part of the Christ Church. They got married Catholic. Well, she says in her little bio, and I wrote down verbatim. Again, if you look online and Google her name, one of the first things that comes up will be the bio that she wrote for the election that happened this last November. So she got elected to be the county clerk less than a week before this happened. And that's kind of a coincidence, right? And yeah, I mean, Catholic and the Christ Church. I don't want to get into all that stuff. It's like religion and politics. I try to just stay away from as much as possible. Hey, not so dumb blonde, but yeah, just go ahead and look her up, and yeah, we can talk about that more. Just do some digging on James Fry. Him being the police chief and then her being hired to be the finance director, that's a conflict of interest right there, in my opinion. That's unusual for a city to allow that. So this is a major power couple, you guys. Mr. James Fry, who, tries to act like he's all shy and stuff. Him and his wife are in full control of that town, in my humble opinion. Alleged victims flipping the script. Oh my goodness. It's just crazy. Like, I'm thinking maybe that it was accidental. Busted flush. Okay. I don't know if you're testing me with the hot pink hand thing or what. But we'll just leave that one alone for now. It might mean he sells meat and has rental lockers available for hunters. Right. It could be, but why does he own it 30 minutes from the Canadian border when he lives 3 hours south? And even where he lived when he was a teenager, where he graduated high school, I think it's called St. Marie's or something like that, is also very far away from where it's located. So why does he own this meats and locker company from the time he's a teenager that's 30 miles from the freaking Canadian border? Sure, it could be all on the up and up. There's that possibility, Fred. And thank you for bringing that up. Seriously. Speaking of the 8H thing, that's why I mentioned Corner Club in a prior live chat of yours being CC33 Freemasons. Oh, sassafras. See, I had no idea. No idea. One of Catherine Ramsden's main characters on her Nutcracker team is half Native. The characters are based on real people. And, the Native American women just disappear commonly and they don't get covered commonly, if ever. Locker or play on words. Lock her. Oh, Pam, thank you for the extremely creepy comment. Again, seriously, thank you for that comment. I wouldn't have even thought of that. I mean, subconsciously, I'm sure I did, but hello, just arrived listening to you. Hello, Samaterna. And Rachel Smith, convenient. I work at a steakhouse. We sell 1888 certified Agnes beef. So, my grandparents actually raised hotel cattle. So that was what organic beef was called before the word organic was really even coined. Um, and yeah, it was Agnes hotel cattle sold only to hotels for their restaurants. And honestly, my great grandparents worked in the cement business. So, and the grandparents that sold the hotel cattle, that was after they retired from the military. So I know a little bit about this stuff. Just saying. And yeah, I mean, I love beef and I love the good beef that you buy, on that circuit. Um, Christchurch made their intentions known, much like Putin. Maybe they should be taken more seriously. I just don't know that much about it. I don't know if you want to say more, Rachel. Because the hunting is better up there, right? Just like the shopping is better in Moscow. What kind of hunting? Bonner's Ferry. Oh, what did I say it wrong? Thank you, Rachel Smith. I appreciate that. Because I have it here in my notes, but I didn't look at them. It's less populated up there, which means more game to hunt. Well, of course. I mean, that goes without saying, but it's also a lot of land in Idaho is like that. So why so close to the Canadian border? The fact that it's close to the Canadian border is a red flag. Jazz, I just got here and waved hi. It's just funny, Busted Flush, because it was that same pink hand that Skittles Riddles used a couple days ago. But I don't even like to acknowledge these trolls. Like they are attention whores, and they can get their attention elsewhere. It goes along with Payne's wolf killings. Yeah, the wolf killings. You got to think about wolves too. Like, remember that book in the 80s? I think it was called Women Who Run with the Wolves. And wolves are kind of honored in Native American culture, and they're a symbol, a symbology. And this argument of needing to kill the wolves because the wolves kill the herds that the farmers are farming. You could capture the wolves and set them loose in like a wolf sanctuary. I remember we had a wolf sanctuary south of Olympia, Washington. I think it was south of Tumwater. I want to say it was called Wolf Haven. I'm sure it's still there. Wolf Haven. Um, oh, can't think of the name of the town. So close. It's like right on the edge of my brain. So south of, is it Centralia? I think it's called Centralia is the name of the town. So it's south of Tumwater, Lacey, and Olympia on I-5. I'm pretty sure it's Centralia, but it might be near Centralia. I'd have to look at a map because it's just been too many decades and too much alphabet, right? If Payne was shot, what if Payne, who shot the female wolf that was tagged, they are still looking for that person? Wow. And I saw a photograph that he had like on Facebook or some kind of profile with this dead wolf with its tongue hanging out of its mouth. Have you guys seen that? It's current. It's really, really disgusting. And it's like he's trying to piss people off and gross people out, in my opinion. Paradise Masonic Lodge, number 17 in Moscow, Idaho. I don't think they're very active. Sorry, didn't mean to creep you out. Oh no, Pam, what you said, it didn't creep me out. I mean, I was just kind of, you know, sort of, but no, it was good. Thank you. Sassafras, yeah, still sus when meat lockers can be used to store humankind too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to store anything. And, along these highways that go out of the country, we have a lot of those in Ohio. Along those highways are a lot of inconspicuous lockers like that. And people don't notice them. I notice them and they're creepy. Sorry, didn't mean to creep you out. No, you're so fine. I try to be real upfront with when I'm like creeped out, like gross, or when I'm creeped out, like, yeah, the truth is rough sometimes. So that was yours, Pam. Is like, yes, it was good that you said it because it's the truth, and it's just sometimes um, disheartening, right? But that's why we're here. Um, and good question, busted flush. Yeah, really good question. I'm going to highlight that one again. And why is the Moscow PD not investigating who killed Buddy, the cute little Australian shepherd, the 12-year-old dog that was skinned and filleted? What was it, 2 or 3 weeks before the Idaho 4? That's just so gross. Like, you can't ignore stuff like that, and it could tie in. I'm not saying it ties in. There's that possibility, maybe even an outside chance. I don't know, but it's a crime. It's criminal. These people had their precious animal murdered, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Andy Libby says, I live in Pullman, but go shopping in Moscow because the gas, smokes, and groceries are cheaper. Right. I know that the shopping is better in Moscow when you live in Pullman. And I lived in Portland, Oregon, and for just a year back in the 90s. And everybody in Vancouver shops in Oregon because Oregon has no sales tax. So people that live in Washington state that had a very high sales tax, they would buy their cars in Oregon, not pay the sales tax. And the state started tracking their license plates going across the bridge and figuring out who lived in Washington state and hadn't paid their sales tax. So they're driving around with Oregon plates, even though they don't live in Oregon. So yeah, I mean, that's always a thing to find the best shopping. And I know that Moscow has much better shopping than Pullman, but when I was referring to when the criminal defendant said that, and it was kind of creepy because it was kind of like a pat answer. Like, what were you doing in Moscow? Oh, well, the shopping is better. When it's common knowledge that the shopping is better. Um, I think it all points to it being pain. That's my feeling. Busted flush. I'm in full agreement with you on that. So we are already getting close to an hour, and I think I said this was going to be a short live, but I thought it could extend. They often do. Let's see. Let's get caught up and sign off. Where are we at? I have that book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. Yeah, Women Who Run with Wolves. I had it back then in the 90s, and I actually used it in group therapy. Uh, I remember one of the stories in that book, it's like a collection of short stories, was called The Doll in Her Pocket. And that was one of my favorites, The Doll in Her Pocket, which also reminds me of a Suzanne Vega song called I think it's called Rock in My Pocket or Rock in Her Pocket, a rock in her pocket. And it's sort of like, to don't underestimate the little guy. Um, so yeah, the doll in her pocket in the book, Women Who Run with Wolves, and Rock in Her Pocket by Suzanne Vega. I love Suzanne Vega. She's an incredible artist. Um, Wolves. Oh, and I've seen her play like at least 3 or 4 times to catch her multiple times. Um, animals, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. Considered as spirit animals, beautiful animals. Oh, they are. Their eyes. They're like the Australian shepherd. So maybe that was why this prick picked Buddy, because wasn't Buddy an Australian shepherd? I think. Payne's activities have been reported to Oregon Fish and Game, and that's serious. Like if you're poaching, that is some serious crap and serious illegal activity and serious serious crimes. Um, that is what I was meaning. Payne even wrote a thing about killing wolves. Right. And I guess in Idaho, they're they have permission to kill wolves to protect their livestock. But I still don't think it's right. I still think as a protective species, they should have to trap and release. I know it's a lot of work, but they could do that. They could have the Department of Fish and Wildlife help with that too, so that it made it easier on the farmers. Um, Hunting wolves is legal. The permit is expensive, though. Man, just like hunting some of these animals in Africa, these endangered animals. And yeah, if you pay enough, you can have it. It's so gross. And I just don't understand the mentality. I mean, I've been to Alaska 3 times, so I know hunting. I know people that hunt. I know people that love to hunt. But, I think I like Gary Morphew. Barry Morphew. That man was like hunting every second of the day. I mean, he was just a hunter. He was just a killer. That's what he lived for. What he lives for. He's still currently doing that. That's his thing. Um, didn't Dr. Thrifty post about that? I got to check out this Doc Thrifty. I know you guys talk about Doc Thrifty all the time, and I've seen it, but I haven't really caught too much. The coyotes in the brain should have been taken more seriously. Well, if they're not being taken seriously, it's because the police don't want to. The police are ignoring it intentionally because because they have reasons, I'm sure. I wish I could remember where I see so many wonderful investigations by YouTubers. I know it's good to take notes, Busted Flush. Then you might remember if you can find it in your notes. You make good points, Pam K. It's only creepy if you don't know that the statement is true. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Andy Libby. Um, Nice to make a live instead of replay for once. Thanks. Well, thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here. Um, Thank you. Going to read it now. I have to purge books because I have so many, but I saved that one. I know I'm constantly purging everything in my house, and purging books is one of the hardest things to do. Um, Purging clothes can be hard too. Purging shoes can be hard. I'm just purging because I've got 4 kids and we're just constantly going through stuff, and those things are changing all the time. Um, I was thinking of KR and allegedly having frozen tissue. So with this case, anything is possible. Pam K, that's exactly where I was thinking with the meats and locker as well. I got to hug and kiss a pet wolf at the hot springs in Yellowstone, so I cried with joy. That's wild. Yeah, I've been to that Wolf Haven in Centralia. Um, but yeah, there's another town down there with a similar name. I'll have to look it up. I hate it when my brain doesn't work. You know what? I got my phone right here. I'm going to look up Wolf Haven real quick, but I want to keep up with you guys too and sign off. I want it all, right? Prices are more than 13% cheaper in Moscow. I was actually able to look that up. Very cool. Thank you. One of the wolves was a young female. It was theft because it was tagged to be monitored. I'd rather hunt with a long lens camera. You can't. He deleted his whole channel. Oh, Doc Thrifty deleted his whole channel? Oh, interesting. Really? Is that the one that you're talking about? Wolves are sacred and their eyes see into your soul. I see you too, right? That I see SEA you too that Brent Kopaka posts. That is very curious, isn't it? So yeah, let me look up Wolf Haven real quick here. If somebody else hasn't already. Wolf Haven, Washington. Thurston County, Tenino. That's Chehalis is the other town I was thinking of. See, it came back as soon as I saw Tenino. So Wolf Haven International is what it's called. It's been there forever. It's a really cool place. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend it if you're ever in Tenino. So Thurston County is where Olympia, Washington is. It's where they had that whole, what was the word that we used? Titanic ritual abuse case. That was Thurston County. Let's see. 8th letter of the alphabet. Is it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H? Wow. I thought it was just because of the way it looked. Thank you. Thanks for that. Fascinating, Vintage Pearl. Too much alphabet. Who was it who said that? Was that I think it was Annie Potts, or am I getting it wrong? I don't like to mix up my viewers, but somebody said that a few days ago in one of the videos, too much alphabet, and I've just been cracking up ever since. That's amazing, Busted Flesh. Doc Thrifty has a lot of content about Enan Harsh too. So is Doc Thrifty still up, or is, what was it that you were saying, all the content taken down? Why did he delete his channel, or did he rename it? I found him on Truth and Transparency. Thrifty took his channel down. Oh no. Chehalis, Pam, okay. So I knew somebody who named their dog Chehalis, and this was in Olympia, Washington. And, you know, me and my friends from Olympia, we kind of thought that the town Chehalis was a dog because it was just very kind of small-minded, backwoods, kind of weird. There's a lot of that south of Olympia. I mean, you're just like out in the freaking sticks. And, you know, like inbreds and stuff, not to be offensive, but it's creepy. It's kind of like the Deliverance area, which is always creepy. And I would imagine when you get close up to Canada, you're dealing with that too. Maybe he took it down because he realized he wasted so much of his time on someone that isn't involved in the case. Who is this? Who is the Andy Libby? I'm really curious if you want to share. I thought Doc did a great job on his channel, and I am so sus of Einen. Oh, was it Einen that he was real focused on? Andy Libby, Nico asks. The wolf's name was OR106. Before her, there was a family of wolves poisoned in Oregon. Doc's taking precautions until it gets resolved. Wow. Boy, he did dive into Enan Harsh. Lana liked him, and Doc was on Lana's show, and they didn't agree. I read a study that some scientists think coyotes are subspecies of wolves. He had a major crush on Einen. It was kind of sad. So, yeah, I know a lot of people have been crushing on Einen. I mean, I say that tongue in cheek. You know, a lot of people were, and I'm not one of them, but I'm not thinking anything either. So I think it's always good to have an open mind. We have coyotes in Florida, and they look like mangy dog. They are quite aggressive. One tried to grab a Yorkie on a leash with a lady walking it. Wow. Yeah, you hear about people walking their dogs and the dog getting eaten by a alligator and maybe the person. I know there was an old lady walking her dog in Florida just a couple weeks ago that the dog got eaten, and I think she got drowned. I don't know if she got eaten too, but she was killed. And yeah, those alligators eat children. They definitely eat the dogs. Coyotes eat cats in a lot of areas. Like, you know, you'll get like a pack of coyotes and they'll kill the cat. We have coyotes in Florida. Yeah, I just read that one. Okay, you guys, I'm getting ready to sign off here. We are at our regular, like slightly over an hour. I still think he is sus, in my opinion. And like I said, I am in full support of anybody who thinks that. I tend not to think that way, but I could be inaccurate. So I think that your opinion is 100% valid, Sassafras. I don't think that Einen is not involved. Well put, GC. I'm going to highlight that and try to sign off. That is just like a perfect way to sign off. I love that quote. I got to write that down. I don't think Einen is not involved. Hilarious. Very, very well worded. Einen is pronounced Enan. Thank you. Enan. All right. We all laughed our arses off when Enan was live on TNT. He called in, he judged for us, he juggled for us, showed us his cat. That's cute. I mean, that's the way you win people's hearts, right? And as long as he wasn't juggling cats, another old Steve Martin joke. Please remember to like and sub. All right, you guys, peace out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It is Sunday, early afternoon, so you have a lot of day left to relax and get caught up on your laundry and your exercise and your sleep and your grocery shopping and all that good stuff. Do what inspires you, even if you think you're being bad and negligent. Just embrace the day. Do exactly what you want to do. So if you want to do nothing, do nothing. If you want to sew, sew. If you want to do some artwork, go to the movies, hang out with your puppies, whatever it is, do what you feel like doing and be unapologetic. It's your day. So on that, I'm going to say peace out and thank you so much. Sending you light, sending you love. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Let's say 10-ish. Lots of chores. Have a lovely day. Thanks again, you guys. You're the best.